I'm an 18-year-old young man, and throughout my life, my parents held exceedingly high expectations for me. They saw me as a representation of their status in society and aimed for me to excel in every aspect. From my earliest years, I felt the weight of their demands as they pushed me to achieve straight A's, win awards, join clubs, engage in sports, and participate in various volunteer activities. My life seemed to be meticulously planned from the moment I entered kindergarten. They insisted that I pursue a course I despised at a prestigious university of their choosing. Their motivation wasn't driven by my future success or financial stability. Instead, it was all about showcasing me as their accomplishment. Throughout my 18 years under their roof, they displayed no interest in my passions, hobbies, or dreams. They never bothered to inquire about my opinions, feelings, or thoughts. Concepts like freedom, privacy, and respect were nothing more than distant dreams in my life. In summary, my parents exerted complete control over every facet of my existence. They imposed strict academic standards, leaving me with no semblance of a social life. They made me dedicate countless hours to studying, even on weekends and holidays. Tutors and coaches were constantly monitoring my progress and skill development. Any mistake or failure resulted in harsh punishments, including public shaming in front of relatives and the few friends I had. Upon graduating from high school, my parents compelled me to apply for the course and university they had predetermined. They framed it as my sole option, denying me any say in the matter. They stressed that following their plan and making them proud was my duty and obligation, threatening severe consequences if I couldn't gain admission easily. They openly stated that university admission held more significance to them than my well-being and life itself. My worth and gratitude were measured solely by my ability to secure admission there. Unfortunately, their chosen course didn't align with my passion for the arts, which they were entirely unaware of. When they discovered this, their anger and disappointment were palpable. They accused me of squandering their time, money, and efforts, and claimed that I had shattered their reputation, hopes, and dreams. They treated me as though I were a criminal, with my father labeling me a failure and a disgrace. The repercussions they had threatened soon became a reality. As soon as they learned of my failure to gain admission, they disowned me and banished me from their lives. They handed me the keys to an old, dilapidated van and instructed me to leave, expressing their desire never to see or hear from me again. In that moment, it became evident that my parents had severed all ties with me. I didn't attempt to explain, apologize, or plead my case. Instead, I simply climbed into the van and drove away. Uncertain of my destination and feeling a mix of hurt, anger, and betrayal, I also experienced an overwhelming sense of freedom and relief, finally liberated from the oppressive grip of my parents. I roamed the streets in search of a place to rest and sleep, eventually stumbling upon a campground where I encountered a group of individuals living in RVs and vans. They extended a warm and friendly welcome, inviting me to join their bonfire and barbecue gathering. As we shared our stories, I confided in them with the unvarnished truth about my situation. In return, they offered empathy and shared their own experiences of leaving behind homes, jobs, or relationships for various reasons. Each had a unique story to tell, some fleeing from something, others chasing dreams, and a few simply seeking new horizons. Nevertheless, they all shared a common theme. They were living life on their own terms. Their acceptance and sense of value provided me with a newfound sense of belonging. Over the course of the next month, we stuck together, enjoying adventures and exploring the local area. We hiked, fished, swam, and indulged in games, all while engaging in lively conversations, laughter, songs, and dances. Together, we relished in food, drinks, relaxation, and mutual support. We also pooled our resources to tackle practical challenges like vehicle repairs, resource hunting, making plans, and ensuring our safety. Moreover, this newfound community helped me recognize the toxicity of my parents' behavior and encouraged me to pursue my interests and passions. They wholeheartedly supported my quest to find my own path and goals, inspiring me with their tales of overcoming adversity to achieve success. That month spent with them was truly transformative. However, during this period, my parents made no effort to reach out to me. The sole family member I had contact with was my grandmother. But my parents had cautioned me not to reveal my homeless situation to her, leading me to fabricate stories about my well-being. My grandmother had always held a special place in my heart, being the only family member to treat me with kindness and respect. She showed me affection, gave me compliments, and stood up for me against my parents' harsh and unreasonable methods of raising me. She valiantly defended me from their cruel criticisms and unjust punishments, providing solace during my times of distress. Despite residing apart from us, she financially supported my parents when they faced financial difficulties, frequently sending me money and supplies. She would call me at least once a week, and her spacious home always had a room set aside for me. She had urged me on multiple occasions to move in with her and was well aware of my passions, offering unwavering encouragement and compliments for who I was. She never missed an opportunity to boost my confidence, acknowledging my intelligence, talents, and handsomeness. She recognized my potential and was willing to help me seize opportunities. Her love for me was unconditional, a stark contrast to my parents who would often deceive her about my health and misappropriate her money. They eagerly awaited her inheritance, planning their retirement around the belief that they would receive a substantial sum of money and property from her. Before expelling me from their lives, my father had issued a stern warning, insisting that I mustn't divulge anything to my grandmother, knowing full well that she would stand by my side. I chose to withhold the truth from my grandmother because I didn't want to burden her with the knowledge that my parents had disowned me. I didn't disclose the fact that they had forced me out of their house, providing me with an old van and cutting off all contact with me. I kept up this deception not only due to my father's threats, but also because I wanted to shield her from worry, knowing that she was elderly and frail. When my grandmother would call, I continued to lie about my well-being out of love for her. However, I realized that I couldn't deceive her indefinitely. After a month of living outside in the van and making new friends, I decided to come clean and share the truth with her. I mustered the courage to call her and confess everything that had transpired. By the end of our conversation, tears were streaming down my face, and my grandmother, too, was weeping. She did her best to console me and expressed her anger toward my parents, labeling them as heartless, selfish, ignorant, foolish, abusive, and neglectful. She immediately invited me to her home and insisted that I stay with her. Upon seeing me, she embraced me tightly, determined to care for and protect me. She even apologized for my parents' actions, but I was hesitant to impose on her by staying in her home. She wouldn't hear of it and wouldn't let me leave. First, she contacted her lawyer and updated her will, naming me as the sole heir to all her property. She then called my father and informed him that she had learned about everything, reading her will aloud to him. She declared that everything she owned belonged to me and admonished them for their terrible mistake and shameful behavior. She made it clear that she would cut them off from her inheritance, which was a significant blow to my parents, given their financial struggles and their reliance on my grandmother's wealth and property to maintain their lavish lifestyle and social standing. They had always expected to inherit everything from her upon her passing and had taken her generosity for granted. Subsequently, my father reached out to me, followed by my mother. They apologized, expressed regret for their actions, professed their love for me, and claimed to miss me. They wanted me to return home and promised to change. However, I saw through their intentions, recognizing that they were only trying to manipulate the situation to regain access to my grandmother's assets. In response, I laughed at their pleas and hung up the calls. I questioned whether I was being unreasonable for not granting my parents another chance. Despite my desire to continue my journey, my grandmother was opposed to it. She inquired about my academic aspirations and what I wanted to do with my life. My grandmother was well aware of my passion for art, so she suggested that I enroll in a community college in her locality. Despite my parents bombarding my phone with texts of apology, I hadn't made up my mind about forgiving them. My grandmother, however, made it clear that even if I chose to forgive them, she could never do the same for the harm they had caused me. 2 days ago, my mother sent me a photo of my father, claiming he was severely ill but refusing to go to the hospital unless I visited him. Both my grandmother and I sensed deceit in her message, but we decided to investigate. My grandmother, accompanied by her lawyer, planned to drive to my parents' home. If things went awry, she intended to intervene and rescue me. Following our plan, my grandmother visited my parents' home yesterday. Once inside, my mother snatched my phone, and my father locked me in a room. I had instructed my grandmother to wait for my signal, but when she didn't hear from me, she bravely approached the house with her lawyer. Faced with no other choice, my parents had to open the door. My grandmother stepped in, saving me from their clutches. While leaving, my parents attempted to defend themselves, but my grandmother silenced them with her resolve. She intends to take legal action against them. I've decided to cut them out of my life completely. I'm fortunate to have a grandmother like her by my side. Many people dealing with toxic parents have no escape, but I am grateful to have her support. I will take care of her. She's a precious gem. Hey, everyone, I'm contemplating something regarding my cheating fiancé, and I'm seeking your input on whether I'm in the right. Let me share my story with you so you can weigh in. Creating a throwaway account for obvious reasons. I'm a 26-year-old male who decided to propose to my girlfriend of 4 years, a 24-year-old woman. I popped the question 6 months ago, believing that marriage was the natural next step after our healthy 5-year relationship. I was financially stable and confident in my ability to provide for us. However, my perception of our relationship crumbled when I proposed. My girlfriend is incredibly social and active on social media. As I was taking pictures of her with the engagement ring, I noticed notifications from a guy popping up on her phone. Curious, I discreetly checked the messages and discovered that she was cheating on me. Based on their conversation, it was evident that she had been to his place multiple times, and he was eagerly anticipating her next visit. Although I'm not one to invade someone's privacy, I felt compelled to dig deeper. Considering her lack of tech-savvy skills, it was easy for me to access her laptop. She consistently used the same password for most of her accounts. Once, I gained access to her laptop, and the revelations were shocking. I wasn't prepared for what I discovered. My ex had been frequenting a local sex club, which had led to her making a multitude of new friends who had seemingly been more intimately involved with her than I had ever been. At the time of my investigation, she was engaged in conversations with about 7 men. From their exchanges, it was painfully clear that she had spent intimate moments with them. In many of these chats, she demeaned my performance in bed compared to theirs, claiming they were far superior. Reading those words shattered my heart. The person I had loved for the past 5 years had been cheating on me for the better part of 3 years. The weight of this realization hit me like a ton of bricks. I felt an overwhelming hatred for her, an emotion I couldn't adequately describe. I never thought I was capable of such intense feelings of loathing towards someone I had loved so deeply. I couldn't believe I was entertaining thoughts of harm towards someone I still cared for. That's when I decided on a course of action. I wanted to inflict mental and emotional distress upon her. Perhaps this makes me a morally questionable person, but I was determined to make her suffer the consequences of her actions. I contemplated my decision, slept on it, and ultimately committed to the plan. I pretended that everything was normal between us. I knew about her infidelity, but I didn't let on that I was aware of her cheating. I put on a facade, acting as if everything was fine. We both lied to each other, and I observed her with a fake smile whenever I saw her enthusiastically chatting on her phone, all the while wondering if she was betraying me again. It was torment living with her, but I believed that my revenge would be worthwhile. The plan was straightforward. I had no intention of marrying her. I allowed her to meticulously plan the wedding, knowing full well that it would be a solo affair since I had no intention of showing up. I accompanied her on trips to select wedding details, like flowers and decorations, though I had no intention of paying for anything. I even suggested that I would match her honeymoon expenses with whatever she spent on the wedding. She was delighted, naively unaware that she was racking up a significant bill. Her innocence brought a cynical smile to my face, even in the face of this elaborate revenge plan. I understood that my actions were cruel, but in my mind, I believed she deserved it. I continued to monitor her affairs, and unsurprisingly, she was still engaging in infidelity. Knowing this made it easier for me to witness her financial downfall over a wedding she would be attending alone. With our wedding just 2 days away, I found myself experiencing a touch of stage fright. I couldn't help but question if I would be considered a bad person if I followed through with my plan. After all, she was still cheating on me. Just 30 minutes ago, I confirmed that she was going to meet one of her partners at a bachelorette party. I had discussed my dilemma with my best man, and he believed that my actions were cruel when I could have simply broken up with her. Hello, everyone. I want to express my gratitude for your support and checking in on me. I didn't anticipate that you would appreciate my idea as much as you did. Your support means a lot to me. Now, onto the update you've been waiting for. I decided to go with the suggestion a few of you provided in my direct messages, which was to expose her as the cheater she was. And so, that's precisely what I did. I asked my best man to play a video containing all the screenshots of the chats I had gathered over the months. Along with those pictures, I included a brief explanatory message to ensure everyone understood that I would not be showing up for the wedding. I followed through with my revenge plan and told her that I would have an extended bachelor's party and return the night before the wedding. But we both knew I had no intention of returning. I didn't inform my family about this because my parents are close to her, and I didn't want her to find out. Only my best man was privy to my decision not to attend the wedding. As the wedding time approached, my phone was inundated with calls from both my parents and my cheating fiancé. She kept calling repeatedly until the calls abruptly stopped, presumably when the video was played in front of all the guests. Since then, I haven't received any calls from her, and my parents have tried to reach me once or twice, but I haven't answered. I'm reluctant to respond and be forced to explain why I kept my struggles hidden from them. I stayed in touch with my best man, who provided all the details about how the events unfolded. He described the humiliation she felt as the screenshots were displayed, revealing her sexting someone other than me. I had anticipated feeling a sense of satisfaction upon hearing the news, but the emotions I experienced far exceeded my expectations. Hello, everyone. The past 2 days have been quite intense. I finally returned home, which used to be the apartment we shared. The first thing that struck me was the absence of her belongings. It turned out she had moved out during these past 2 days. She left numerous voicemails on my phone, pleading for me to reconnect with her. In sum, she sounded angry that I had abruptly exited her life without offering any closure. Yet in the same messages, she would break down, begging for forgiveness for her betrayal. I recognized that her words were driven by her longing for the comfort of our relationship, but I couldn't bring myself to fall for her act again. I had devoted years to her, pouring my heart and soul into our relationship. What had I received in return? Heartbreak. I consider myself fortunate to have discovered her infidelity before marrying her, but it still pains me. I wish I hadn't found myself in this situation. In the following weeks, various events unfolded, and that's why I couldn't respond earlier. My ex decided she wanted me to cover all the expenses she had incurred for her wedding since she hadn't received any refunds and was displeased about it. She took me to court, and after weeks of not seeing each other, we finally faced each other. While I can't provide many details due to the ongoing court case, I didn't have to pay her a substantial amount. It was around 20% of what she had spent, and that was pretty much it. I had assumed that seeing her would evoke no emotions, but I was wrong. I felt terrible in her presence. I couldn't fathom how she thought it was acceptable to hurt me the way she did. I had wanted her by my side forever, while she decided that sleeping with others was a preferable choice. Now somehow I was painted as the villain for seeking retribution. I don't comprehend why she views my decision to distance myself and not forgive her as wrong. In my eyes, and in yours, I haven't committed a wrongdoing, and that's what truly matters to me. Honestly, this will be the final update I provide on this post. I have no desire to revisit the memories of this incident ever again. To the person offering advice, I appreciate your perspective, and you're right. I deserve better than what she has given me. As for exposing her secrets at the wedding, I've thought about it, but I've decided against it. I want to move past this chapter of my life. Hey, everyone, Thank you so much for tuning into today's stories. Remember, if you have a story of your own that you'd like to share, please email it to the address provided in the description below.